Hello, my name is May.
And my name's Colleen. We'd like to welcome you to our third adventure into dyeing yarn. In today's adventure, we're going to try and replicate a colorway that was done by Andy of the 10,000 Stitches podcast. She did a great tutorial about how to dye in the crock pot, and she used food coloring drops, not food coloring gel like we did before.
I have the food coloring drops right here.
They are, and this is Wilton's Performance Color System, and we're going to unbox it for you so you can see. We picked this up at Michael's. We love their 50% off coupon, so it was great. So the box comes with 8 base colors. There they are. And the other thing that it comes with is this lovely color chart, and it has a lot of colors and it tells you how many drops to put in. So I'm really looking forward to using this chart. I know it's meant for icing, but I think we're going to do fine on the yarn. And the yarn we're going to use is a single ply yarn that we picked up at the Knit and Craft in Toronto. It's beautiful merino yarn. I love it, and I think it's going to take the dye really, really well.
Should we get started? I can't wait to see what it's going to look like.
All right, let's get started. Our first step is to get the yarn ready to dye. So we have to tie it up so it won't get tangled, and we also have to soak it. So right now I'm going to be doing the tying up. There were 2 of these kinds, so I've snipped the other one off, and there's that one off. And then there's always one that attaches to the ends of the yarn, and that's this one. So you have to be a little bit more careful with this one. So I'm going to snip it just there, but I'm going to keep it longer over here, and then we're going to work with it. When you tie it up, you need to break the yarn into 3 spaces. So 1, 2, 3. And then it's an over under. So over the front, under the bottom, over that, and then come back through. Just do the opposite. It's like a little figure 8 and then some. And we do that. We want to make sure there's lots of room. So now I'm going to go about 1/3 of the way around. Oh, I sound like a math teacher.
And now again, you do this, Colleen, so that it doesn't get tangled?
Absolutely, so it doesn't get tangled. Now this one, we have to end up tying it with these ends. So I'm going to have to split this up a little bit carefully. Ends, and I'm going to wrap all 4 of these things together. I'm not going to pull this knot quite as tight because that would make it hard to undo. So I'm just going to go around and around, pull it through. There we go, gentle knot. Make sure there's enough room. Yep, there's lots of room. We have our yarn tied up, ready to go. And in this process, we're going to do a very loose skein of this, and we're going to show you that right now. May's going to give me a hand with this. I'm going to put this large knitting needle in this end, and she's going to hold the other end. And then we're going to do about 8 different turns. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That looks good. And then you press your finger down, and I move this towards May, and this goes over top. There we go. Then we pull the knitting needle out. Now this is a very loose skein, and we want it to be loose, and it needs to be loose because the outside is going to get dyed one color, and then once we open it up, the inside will get colored a little bit more. So there's our skein. It's tied up. It is reskeined loosely, and now we're going to soak it. We're going to put a little bit of vinegar in the water when we soak it. That's going to help the yarn absorb the dye once we do it. So we're going to soak it in vinegar, and we'll put a little bit of vinegar in a crock pot. But for right now, just a little bit in, just a little bit of a slosh. And then we're going to take this and we're going to soak it. Now we have to do a little bit of squeezing out the air. So I'm going to put it in.
Do you want me to help?
Yes, May, that would be fantastic. We'll probably soak this for about a half an hour and let it absorb. I'm going to turn it over and do that again. But what I may do is after 15 minutes do this again just to make sure it's absorbing it, because we want it all to be wet. We're going to let this go for a half an hour, and then we'll come back. Andy says 12 drops of blue, 2 drops of yellow. So that's what I'm going to do. 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, 12 drops of blue. This is great. The drops go out slowly, easy to count. So now I'm going to put in the 2 drops of yellow. Carefully, here we go. 1, 2. Perfect, 2 drops of yellow. And that should make a bit of a tealy blue. That is the plan. Ooh, it's looking pretty. Now I'm going to put the color into the crock pot. I've already put some vinegar in the crock pot. That's going to help the dye. And so now I'm going to put, move the crock pot so it's easier. So I'm going to put the color in and I'm going to mix it up. I'm just using a chopstick. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use some paper towel and we're going to see what the color's looking like. And all we have to do is dip a corner in and bring it up, and there's the blue. It is beautiful. I love that color. You seen it okay on camera, May? Perfect, that's fantastic. So now that's ready to go, and now I can wring out the yarn. You'll notice I now have gloves on my hand. I got a little bit of blue dye on my finger, and I don't want that dye to get directly onto the yarn. So I'm going to move the yarn over, and now my job is to wring it out. I don't have to wring it out too much, but just to get rid of some of the extra water. And it's really soaked it up. It's good. I'm sure that it's all the way through. You can leave it more than a half an hour. It'll still do the trick for you, but it's ready to go. Now, all I'm going to do is lay it in the crock pot. And then I'm going to use the chopsticks to help submerge it. Oh, let's put some air in it. Can you see that okay on the camera, May?
Yes, you can.
Perfect, I'm glad that's good. So I'm just going to make sure it's going to stay where we need it to stay. And now what happens, we turn the crock pot on to high. I'm going to put the lid on the crock pot. There it goes. And now we're going to leave it for a couple of hours and we'll come back and we're going to add the second color. It's been 2 hours. So we're going to take a look and see how our dye has exhausted. So I'm going to lift the lid and I'm going to, so there it is. It's still pretty blue. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more vinegar and I'm going to give it another hour and then we're going to check on it again. Okay, let's take a look and see how we're doing. I'm going to use this measuring cup so you can get a good sense of it. Now, as you can see, it is blue. There's still a little bit of blue. I think the yarn has taken up all that it can. I added a little extra vinegar. I turned it over. We gave it an extra hour, but I think it's okay. So what I think I'm going to do is make up the color just like Andy, once again from 10,000 Stitches podcast, did. And I'm going to add 1 extra drop of yellow to see if we can balance out that little bit of blue in the water. I'm going to do that right now. I have a little bit of water in here and I'm so glad that we do this because just in case the drops don't work. All right, so we're going to start with 1 drop of blue. 1 drop of blue. And we're going to put 7 drops of yellow. I want to have a little hint of green to it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7. I think that's good. Let's just mix this up. Oh, it's a beautiful color. There's that bit of green that we're looking for. I think that's going to be fantastic. Now, I did that in this little cup because sometimes those drops come out very fast and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't messing things up. What Andy suggests is we take water from the crock pot so that when we put the water in, it's going to be the same temperature. And we're just going to put this in and just give it a lovely mix up. Good, so it's ready to go. Before we add the color to the crock pot, what I need to do is I need to open the skein up. So we left it open a little bit, and we left it all skeined up. So now I have to do this very gently. So I'm going to open it up. So the good news is we did it very loosely. So I can, ouch, without burning myself, I hope. I need to spin this around so that I can open it up and get as much of the yarn that hasn't been dyed yet. So I'm just going to try and do this. I seem to want to put my fingers in the hot water, which is not such a good idea. But you can see there's a lot of lovely white yarn there. So I want to try and open this up carefully and leave some so that it will take up this new color. And I think, oh, we've done a good job. What I'm going to do, I'm going to move it to one side, and I'm going to pour a little in, and I'm going to mix it in. And then I'm going to move to the side, and I'm going to pour some in and give it a stir. And then I'm going to move to this end and drop some more in and give it a stir. And then I'm going to move to this end and give it a stir. Now we see some major colors happening. It looks wonderful. Now it's very warm, so I'm just going to turn this down to low. And I'm going to put the cover back on. And then I'm going to give it another hour. It's been an hour. Let's see if that other dye has exhausted. So I'm just going to dip this in. And as you can see, the water is perfectly clear. So we have exhausted our dye. That's fantastic. Now all we have to do is turn it off, let it get to room temperature, then we'll take it out, rinse it, spin it, and then we'll come back. In this basin, I have water that's similar in temperature to what this, it's cooled down. It's easy for me to put my hand in, there's no problem. So I'm going to put a little bit of wool wash in. This is called Soak. It's the fig scent, I love it. So I'm going to put just a little bit in. And this is the kind of soap that you can leave in.
That's great.
So now I'm going to grab one of the things, and I'm just going to do a little bit of taking out some of the water. And then I'm going to move it over into the bucket. And then I'm just going to rinse. And what's nice is that there's no color coming out. So I'll let it soak for a little bit, and then my plan is to take some of the water out, and then I'm going to spin it in my salad spinner. When that's all done, then it will be ready to hang up. I've let the yarn soak. It's nice, it's cooled down. So now what I'm going to do is take it up and wring it out. I don't have to rinse it. So I'm just going to wring it out as I go. I'm going to be gentle with the yarn. And then I'm going to put it in my salad spinner just to get rid of some of the extra water. So I'm going to do that. So it's in the salad spinner. I'm going to apologize for the noise because this will make a little bit of noise. I never knew that that button stopped the spinning, so it's very nice that I've got that figured out now. So there we have our yarn. Absolutely. The wool here. The wool here. It's okay. So there's the yarn. We've taken out a lot of the water, so now I'm just going to hang it up. I'm going to put it over a drying rack, and then I'm going to have to leave it for a couple of days. I usually rotate it so that it's constantly getting dried. I'll just move it around so the other parts are hanging down, and then by the end of this video we'll have a finished product for you.
Wow, Colleen, I think the colors turned out really nice.
I am so pleased with it. It's funny, we use so much blue and we've got lots of green and little bits of yellow, and I think it's come out beautifully. The depth of color is what amazes me so much. So as you can see, we've got some yellow, We've got green. There's even a hint of kind of a tealy blue. I am thrilled.
Now, was it similar to Andy's, the person that you were going to copy?
From 10,000 Stitches podcast,
Yeah.
It is similar. I think this is a little bit more vibrant, but I think we used different kinds of drops. We used Wilton's instead of using like a clubhouse kind of
Right.
food coloring. So I really, really like it. I'm so excited about knitting with it. I think the other reason why the color is so vibrant is because this is 1-ply yarn, and my understanding is 1-ply yarn takes up the dye much faster and much more brightly. So I think that's why we have this beautiful colorway. We're going to have to figure out a name for it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to pick a name for this one, but you know, every time we do this, it's a real learning curve, isn't it?
Yes, I'm so happy in it. You know what's really nice is we're not having to invest in lots of money and new tools and those kind of things. We're able to do it in the pots that we have.
Yeah, and everybody at home's able to do that too. So it was fun, and thanks for sharing your knowledge with us.
Yeah, no problem. I'm thrilled. Until next time.
You take care.